everybody, and welcome to NapChat. It's great to have everyone today. We have a very special guest, and we are so super excited to have Teresa Durham. Yeah, that's right. She is a PMP and a certified Scrum Master, and she's going to be coming in and just sharing, her story. She is a friend of narcolepsy. I'll tell you that right now, and she has. She's someone that does not have narcolepsy or IH, but she has a very relating story, something that I truly connect with. Especially when, for all of those of us that are in the workforce. It can, the workforce can be pretty exhausting, and so I love what Teresa's going to have to say today. But before we do that, first, I'd like to introduce myself for all of you that do not know who I am. I am Alejandro Bruner Solis. I am the program manager for PWN, and I have the honor, okay, I do, truly, I have the honor here to have Rachel Nesmith as my co-host of NapChat. Yeah, so, and it's a true story. It was when they asked if I wanted to, be the host of NapChat, she had to be a part of it. There just wasn't going to be no other way.
Thank you.
Because I believe that as a community, we can do amazing things together. Okay, that's important, right? Together, we can do amazing things. I even have a shirt that has these mushrooms growing on it, and underneath it says, pretty much the same thing. We can grow together. I mean, that's the truth. We grow together. So anyways,
you're the truest friend, man.
That's right.
Love you, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to just show my screen real quick, everybody. I just have a quick slide I want to share. Once I get that up, of course. Here we go. Right here. Okay, everybody. Before we begin, it's just a friendly reminder that NapChat is a supportive community, not a substitute for medical care. No medical advice. Conversations are based on personal experience and peer support, not clinical recommendations. Consult your doctor. Always do that. Always talk to your healthcare provider before making any changes to your treatment, medications, or routine. Respect all journeys. Everyone's experience with narcolepsy or idiopathic hypersomnia is unique and valid. Let's keep this a safe, supportive, and empowering space. And finally, I want to give a huge shout out, right, to our program sponsors, Avidel and Takeda. Without them, they couldn't make, programs like NapChat here possible. With that said, one last thing is a housekeeping thing before I let Teresa take the floor. Teresa, I'm going to mute everybody while Teresa speaks. She's going to speak about 15 minutes as her presentation. I highly encourage you to ask any questions after that during the Q&A. There are two ways to do that. One, you open up the mic and ask the question. Two, if you don't want to do that, then go ahead and put it in the comments, and myself or Rachel will answer them. Rachel will pretty much answer your questions if you have any questions going on. I will actually ask any questions you have for Teresa on your behalf. All right. So with that, let's give Teresa the floor. Oh, you're muted, Teresa.
Oh.
Teresa, you're muted.
There it is.
All right.
Okay. All right. I lost it for a minute, but we're back. Okay. So, hi guys. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the introduction, Alejandro and Rachel. Thank you guys so much for having me here. And I do want to thank Jane Powell for inviting me and introducing me to this incredible community. She's such a beautiful soul. And the way she advocates for people with narcolepsy, I just admire her so much. And you guys are really lucky to have her. So, and if you will excuse me, I've got a little congestion going on here, so I'm going to try to, speak clearly. So, so I'm Teresa Durham. Hey, y'all, project management professional and Scrum Master. And as Alejandro mentioned, I don't know, I don't have narcolepsy myself. Now, I don't know a lot about narcolepsy or idiopathic hypersomnia, but here's what I've come to understand. So, I do understand that it's a neurological disorder that affects the brain's ability to control sleep-wake cycles. I understand that it's more than just being tired. Getting rest or more sleep won't make it just go away, right? I know that people with narcolepsy are not lazy or unmotivated. And I know that it's unpredictable, it's misunderstood, and it can feel isolating, right? Especially in a world that seems to only value people who are constantly on. So based on that understanding, I put together this talk to tell you my story, you know, and I hope that it resonates with you. I crafted it around the idea that living with a body or a brain that the world doesn't quite accommodate, right? And the courage it takes to do what you need to do, whether it's rest or pause, or not pretend that everything's fine when it's not. Okay. So hopefully I'll say some things that resonate with you tonight. So let me tell you about myself. I am a business consultant, a project strategist, and an entrepreneur. I own my own business and I'm actively designing a life that works for me. I'm prioritizing those things and the people that are most important in my life. And I wish I had I wish I had this mindset like 30 or even 20 years ago. But experience increases wisdom, right? And I'm grateful to be in this mindset today. So in 2021 to 2022, I took a sabbatical. I took off and traveled the world solo for 8 months, right? And it was one of the most courageous things that I've ever done in my life. Now, before I hit pause on my career, I was successful. Honestly, I was killing it. I mean, at least on paper. I had a great job. I had a solid income. I had a big old house. Everything everyone says that they need for success. I was a certified project manager and Scrum Master, which I still am. I've been in corporate for over 25 years and I was helping companies to meet their strategic goals. I was solving problems and leading change. And that was my thing. I was Superwoman. It's funny. Rachel called me Wonder Woman. I was Superwoman. I felt like I had the cape and everything. And I prided myself on being the one who knows her stuff. Ask Teresa, she knows. If she don't know, she'll find out. I was the one who could be depended on for making it happen, pulling it out, doing what others weren't able to or willing to do. But I started to get tired. So the signs started showing up. I was mentally foggy and tired all the time. Um, I couldn't think straight. I couldn't focus. Sometimes I'd open my laptop and just stare at the screen. Have you ever done that? I started losing my patience with people and forgetting things. You know, I was, don't tell anyone, but there was one meeting where this guy I got so frustrated with him, I threw an eraser at him. And I felt so bad. I felt so bad after it, and I apologize all over. But I mean, that's not me. I don't do that. You know, um, these things were happening, but it should have been a red flag at the time. I mean, I just I I just didn't think about it. Because these things didn't used to happen. They didn't used to happen for me, not like this. But I told myself, okay, you're human, you know, things happen. just work harder and make up for it, right? I just kept trying to push through. Um, but I mean, that's what we're taught, right? Just keep going. People are dependent on you. That's what I told myself. People are depending on you. This company is depending on you. You have to do it. Push harder, get her done, right? I just kept going. My brain was sending signals, but I didn't know how to interpret them at that time. So the pandemic hit, and like so many others, I was forced to slow down. I had to figure out how to do things differently. And while I was doing that, I began to examine my life and life in general. I think we all kind of did during that time, right? I slowed down, but I was still tired. My mind and my body were just tired all the time. I had this feeling of just unease. That's the best way I can put it. All the time. All the time. I dreaded getting out of bed every day. I'd wake up and it's like I just don't want to do it. Even days when all I had to do was roll out of bed, go make coffee, and head to the dining room to work. I didn't want to do it. And I couldn't shake it, so something had to give. So finally I reached a breaking point. And at first, you know, um, I wasn't sure what to do. People talk about being burnt out all the time, but I'm not talking about just being tired. I think a lot of times they're talking about, oh, I'm burnt out. They're talking about being tired. You know, a midday nap or getting more sleep wasn't going to fix what I was feeling at that time. What I was going through. I wouldn't wish that feeling on anyone, you know. I knew I could no longer keep pretending that everything was fine because the truth was I wasn't fine. And to be honest, I got to a point where I didn't really care who knew, that I wasn't fine. Pushing through was no longer working for me. It was actually breaking me. So I did something drastic because that's what I do. That's part of me. When I need to pull myself out of a rut, or force myself to do something I know is for my own good, but I'm afraid. I say all the time, just do things afraid. It's okay to be afraid, but just do it. So I sold my house, that big old house. I sold it. I got rid of everything. A four-bedroom house down to four plastic storage bins. Those big storage bins you can get from Walmart with the top four. Um, I gave myself the best birthday present ever, and I quit my job. I didn't have another job. I just quit. And then less than 30 days later, I boarded a flight to France on a one-way ticket. I was done and I was out of there, you know. Yes, I was over 50. Yes, the pandemic was still raging, but I didn't care. I had to do something, and this was something. So I spent the next 8 months traveling solo. I went to France, Georgia, the not the state, the Republic of Georgia, the country. I went to Turkey and Morocco and Scotland. And I was in some beautiful places, but to be honest, I spent a lot of time inside. There were days I didn't even get out of bed, you know, and that was okay. So of course, I got out a little bit, I got out a little bit. I had to, but I wasn't really doing the typical sightseeing things, I wasn't on vacation. I was in recovery. I was learning how to rest and not just rest my body, but rest from all the expectations, the pressure, the performance. And you know what? Some things started to happen. I started to wake up and not dreading the day. I started noticing what my body felt like when I wasn't, just clenched up or on edge. I spent time with people who valued leisure time with friends and family. And they were just a little curious about this American stranger roaming around their country. Um, I started thinking about who I was outside of work, outside of my job, my role. And I remember that there's a me, outside of work. At least there should be, right? And that me, she is who freed me up to go breathe the air from halfway across the planet so that I could see her, hear her, and feel her. So, if you don't mind, I'm gonna pause here for just a minute and look at these pictures. It's been 3 years, it's 4 years now, 3 years, almost 4 years now. And each one of the, I remember how I felt in each one of these pictures, you know. Um, yes, those are goats in a tree. Just to be clear, that's not AI. Those are actual goats in a tree. Um, this picnic image here, I was in Antalya, Turkey, and I was invited to join these guys. These were people from various countries learning. I can't remember if they were learning English or learning Turkish, but they were from countries that fight each other. Iran, um, Pakistan, uh, Ukraine, Russia. They were all sitting there eating together, and they weren't all speaking the same. It's funny because they were speaking their various languages, but they would have someone there who was stronger in English that would kind of translate, and that was that was one of the most beautiful experiences I could have ever had. Um, and this was all while Russia was over there playing footsie with World War III, messing with Ukraine. So it was beautiful. Okay, let me get back to it before I start crying. Um, so during the time of slowing down, I also started to think about how my brain works. Not just my mindset, but my actual processing style, how I do things, how I go about doing things. And I realized I'm always thinking. The brain is always on. My brain never stops. It's like I don't know, it's like a browser with 72 tabs open, and most of them are playing music or left on some YouTube video that I started watching but then got distracted and didn't finish. It's just loud. So, I used to think, that's just how I am. That's just me. But the more I heard about something called neurodivergence, and how some brains work differently in areas like, attention, executive function, and sensory processing, I started to feel like somebody out there sees me. They see me, you know? Now, I haven't formally been diagnosed. And to be honest, I don't think it's necessary. If I recognize things, behaviors in myself, or things that I do, I don't feel like I need a diagnosis. Now, if I want to take medicine for it, yes, but I am exploring and I'm listening to what other people are doing and experiencing and trying it out for myself, seeing how if it works for me. Um, Here's what I've noticed about myself, about me. I can manage complex roles. I can be a consultant, a speaker, a board director. But I still struggle to stay on top of personal stuff like laundry or making sure the car has gas. I've never run out, but I almost let my boyfriend run out because I didn't put that. Anyway, it's an ongoing thing. Um, Also, I get super focused on things that I love until I lose interest completely, and then I move on. Um, Overly rigid environments drain me. I need flexibility and flow. You know, it's funny. It's like people want to say, "Are you left or right brained?" It don't matter. I'm both. Um, I tend to see connections that other people miss. I'm a system thinker. I can see the big picture, but I can also see the details and be able to bring those things together and help others understand it. That bodes well with what I do as a project manager. I'm deeply empathetic and emotionally intuitive. And despite all my accomplishments, I still wrestle with consistency and forgetfulness. Yeah, so that's me. Looking back, I can also see how often I masked. If you guys are familiar with masking, I put on, corporate Teresa to fit in or paint a perfect picture when I really just need to go somewhere and think. I needed a quiet space or I need a different solution because what was happening wasn't working for me. But I had on, corporate Teresa and, you know, I did my thing. And I imagine many of you feel like the world wasn't exactly built with you in mind, right? Um, I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't. And you know what? That's okay. It honestly wasn't built with anyone in mind. It just is what it is. And we are who we are. And as I mentioned, I don't live with narcolepsy or IH, but I understand what it feels like to have a brain and body that the world doesn't always accommodate. I I do know what it feels like to be doing your best and still feel unseen. Function at a high level, but it comes at a high cost. So that's why I'm learning to recognize my own needs and not to judge myself for them. For example, I'm an introvert, but in my role, I'm in front of people all the time. I'm communicating with people all the time, and I don't have a problem doing that. But, after that 3 hour meeting, after that workshop, everybody's like, hey, let's go to lunch together. Not me. Mm-mm. I'm gonna be over here. You guys go ahead. I need some time to myself to recharge. And that's okay. I'm learning to build a life that works for me, not just one that looks good from the outside. So, whether it's narcolepsy, neurodivergence, or just the reality of being a human in an overactive world, we deserve to live in a way that honors how we work, not how someone else says we should. So you don't need permission to protect your energy. You don't need a diagnosis to say, this isn't working for me. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You're just wired differently. And different doesn't mean defective. So I'd like to leave you with this. Give yourself permission to do what doesn't make sense to others. Trust your own signals, even when the world doesn't understand. And reclaim your power by listening to yourself, whether that means rest, travel, quitting, slowing down, or doing life differently. Just be courageous and do what you have to do for you. So that is my presentation. And if you guys would like to connect with me, these are ways that the best ways to reach me. LinkedIn, I'm on there all the time. That's one of the best ways to reach me. I have two YouTube channels. If you're interested in my Sabbatical Life 1005 is where I started sharing some of my experiences there, and it started turning into something else after that. But that's where all my sabbatical videos are. And then my Teresa Durham 1005 is more of my project management, artificial intelligence and things like that channel. So, whichever, if you're interested, just feel free to check me out over there. Uh, it's fine. You may find some things that interest you. So thanks so much. I'll stop sharing now and turn it back over to you, Alejandro.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Teresa. That was great. Your story really is inspiring. Yes, Sam. And by the way, everyone, we do have another special guest, Sam. He is our host of the AI workshop. Talk about another master here, guru. He's the one that does all the AI stuff. So highly encourage you all to join that in the coming weeks. Anyways, back to Teresa. No, fabulous. I mean, really, I connected with it. And so I want to encourage, I'm going to see, so I got some messages down here. Oh, no, Velvet, she said, thank you for sharing. Rachel, of course, awesome presentation. And so everyone, I want to encourage you, either if you got a question, you can unmute yourself, ask Teresa directly, or ask it in the chat, and I'll ask on your behalf. Or if you want to share something about yourself that you can relate with, like I was thinking about the isolation thing when, as Teresa was talking about, I just remember those times where being in the corporate world where I'm with my team and then they want to go do an extracurricular activity. And I just said, nope, and I just went and did my own thing solo. That was it because I was exhausted. I couldn't do anything else. It was just work. So if you
Yeah.
got anything to share, especially for Teresa, somebody that's wanting to really learn about our community, share that as well. So, all right, everybody. So, yeah, ask a question.
I don't have a question. I mean, I guess I am a little curious of what it is your business does or what the PWP project management or whatever exactly
Oh,
stands for. But before
yeah.
that, I'll just throw in the relatable. I mean, I related to a lot, almost everything you were saying. But the part where you were mentioning how you realized that like I think I just put it in a different kind of wording of like the way I articulate things. I'm very like focused and uh my mind is always going and I strive to get it out in the ways that make sense to me where the dots connect and yeah, I could relate to what you were saying in that somehow.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. PMP is a project management professional. It's certification that I got from PMI, Project Management Institute. It's the global credentialing organization for project managers, and it's global, and there are also individual chapters. So I belong to the PMI Atlanta chapter. I'm a board member currently. We're the second or third largest in the world with over 6,000 members. We put on various events each month. Mainly educational, but often there's food involved. um, to help people to not only educate them on project management, but to also give them opportunities to keep up their certification because you have to keep up on your skills and get educational credits in order to maintain your certification. Um, as far as what I do, oh, you asked me about the letters. So I told you PMP is Project Management Professional, but I'm also a CSM, Certified Scrum Master. And what that is, it's a product management type of role under Agile. It's a framework for how to bring about successful product management and product launches. So that's what that is.
Thank you. I'm you say product, is it uniquely products or can a product be broad and not necessarily like a solid?
It's broad. It's broad. Because you could think about consumer product, like, this cup is a product. Bringing about companies, bringing about products to sell to people, but a product could also be a service that you provide. It's
Okay.
how you bring about a product, the development of it, the launching of it, the support of it, supporting the team that does it, and just a way to go about that.
Right on.
Mhm.
Cool. Thanks. That answers
Uh-huh.
the question.
Anybody else have a question? Want to share a story that in relation, whatever?
I do have a story I could tell you.
Oh, go ahead.
I
Let's hear
think I
it.
think I already told you guys, you and Rachel Alejandro, that uh when I was younger, I'd say my early 20s, I was dating. And I dated this guy with narcolepsy. He would fall asleep on me all the time. It's like, and it's like, it seemed like he would never do it until I was talking. And I'm like, dude, you keep falling asleep on me, and at first he kept saying, no, I'm not asleep. I'm just resting my eyes. You're not, I'm not sleeping. I'm like, yes, you are. And when he would wake up, he would kind of laugh when he came out of it. So I was like, that hurt my feelings so bad. And when he would say, no, I'm not falling asleep, I'm like, you're trying to make me think I'm crazy. Yes, you are. So he finally came clean and told me he had narcolepsy. And I had heard of it before, but I didn't know what it was. So, you know, needless to say, we didn't make it. And I don't think it was because of that. But I just remember, I'm just like, oh, why wouldn't he tell me in the beginning? And, I was young and now I can understand being in a position like that and how uncomfortable it probably was for him. But no, I mean, I wanted to share that story because I had, firsthand experience with someone who had it and, just how I felt as on the other side. It was just like, dude, stop gaslighting me. You were asleep, just tell me the truth. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's something, I think we all can relate to. I mean, I know with me, prior to being diagnosed, and like I told you, right? I mean, I was having the symptoms at 5 years old, but I wasn't diagnosed until 38. So I'm like in corporate environment, and I was ashamed, really. I was constantly nodding out, right? Either at my computer screen or worse. For me, my worst nightmare is falling asleep during meetings, right? When you have leaders there and you're under the radar all the time, right? And then especially for me being in HR, I would always hear the back office conversations. Well, did you see so and so do this, or did you hear so and so say this, right? And so in the back of my mind, I have that paranoia going on. Like, what are they saying or thinking about me if I'm nodding out, my eyes are, my head's doing this, and then so that made me kind of think about it goes back to the isolation thing. And so like what advice would you give, some people like us, right? Who one struggle with that thinking like, oh my God, I don't want somebody to see me. This is embarrassing. And then two, the other thing like I struggled with is I did not want to let anyone down when I did not want to participate in something. And that meant a lot of things, including personal stuff, right? But even when we had like retreats and meetings that were deemed fun, or even like we'd have like our corporate home rooms. I mean, I didn't attend any of those because that was overwhelming for me. It was just too much at that point.
Mhm.
But I had to go anyways because I did not know how to say no, right? And I felt like that really contributed to my burnout, back in 2017 when I finally I crashed, and completely burnt out and had to go on a leave of absence. So yeah, I mean, like, what advice would you have for somebody like myself, right, or us on this call, or out there in the community that
Mhm.
experience this stuff?
Yeah, it's very much, what I mentioned in my talk today. I would say, you know, be courageous. And I know it's not a simple thing. Sorry, my phone's ringing. It's not a simple thing, um, but it's a freeing thing. If you can find that within yourself, shift your mindset to put your needs, first. Tell yourself that it's there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just different. I just do things differently, and the majority of other people don't, and they don't understand it. So that's their problem, know.
Yep.
And I know, I'll say it that way. I got a little sass to me. I'll say it that way. And I know that there are situations where, it's going to take more tact to get through it, whether it's at work and have to have a conversation, or how you approach deciding whether or not to share it with certain people or not. But I think it all falls under courage, and you have to determine for each situation what's going to sit well in your spirit, you know, whatever decision you make to share or not to share. Um, you don't want to go back and then, like you were saying, you were feeling bad because whatever you can do to get the stress off of you, do it. So, like I was saying, do something. I have to do something drastic sometimes because I'm terrified, and I just have to, you know, do something drastic to get myself through it. Whatever works for you that will get you to the other side of that, to get you beyond the fear, the discomfort, whatever's holding you back or holding you down, you know, just find the courage to do it.
I love it. No, thank you for that. And we have a question for you. So Velvet, one, she's in the process of getting her certification in project management. It's something that she's always wanted to do, but sometimes she worries that she might, get tired with her IH. And she's also neurodivergent. Do you feel
Okay.
exhausted after a day of work,
Mhm.
or maybe depends on the intensity of the project? And
Yeah.
those are kind of our two questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Before I knew that there was a name for it, or whatever, people called me, I would feel bad, kind of like you said, when people would say, oh, Teresa never goes to lunch with us. Teresa never, she's antisocial or whatever, Teresa's tired. And you don't want to be around Teresa if she's cranky because y'all already sucked all the energy out of her. So, I felt like it was better for me to continue to just protect my peace, when I needed to. Um, to be honest, I can't really tell you how I get through other than just push. I just push through when I have long days. I've had, as a project manager, um, days where I had to lead meetings all day, take breaks, you know, um, give them something to do while I go over here and, play like I'm on my computer, but I'm just like taking some breaths, you know, work things out to work with. I think that the first step is understanding what you're struggling with. For a while I didn't know. I thought, I mean, my mom says you don't like people. Like, that's not true. Um, but I when I started to understand myself, I could start planning. I mean, this plays into project management too, to believe it or not. When you understand the landscape, when you understand what you're dealing with, then you can plan better. So if I know about myself that I need a break, I'm going to be in a situation where there's going to be a lot of people and I'm going to need a break. I can work breaks in. I can figure out, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go, like I'm going to the bathroom or whatever I need to do just to get away, for a moment, you know. And that's what you have to do. That first that there's some saying, the first step is no, I said the first step is recognizing you have a problem. I don't want to call it a problem. It's not a problem. It's just knowing yourself and recognizing the
Mhm.
situation you're about to be in and what you need for yourself, and then make adjustments before you get there. Don't set yourself up to crash. Crashing's not fun.
No, it is not. It is great because Solomon, right before you just said that, he just said in the chat, 100% on knowing yourself, and I highly agree. Is to do that, and unfortunately, like and I like to use me as an example, where I knew myself, but then I really wasn't protecting those boundaries, right? And that's one thing I learned now, right, is to identify those boundaries and
Yeah.
protect them, value them. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. And it really has made things, a lot easier and smoother for me, right?
Mhm.
And I agree, making a big drastic change. I mean, that's kind of how I have lived, right? To succeed is sometimes I had to make those really big, drastic, changes
Mhm.
to make, things work. And even now, and let's see here, we got another question in here. Yep, knowing your limitations, boundaries. That's right. Right, Solomon. It is. That's the one thing I've learned, and in all honesty, I mean, I learned that from going to my counselor. My counselor really, she gave me a lot of helpful information on how to identify that.
Mhm.
And so I really use that today, and I always like to also practice as much as I can a week, maybe once a month, on something that I'm thankful for, and something that's self-care. That's something I rarely even practiced, and now I do, and that really helps with changing that mindset, and especially when days are just really tough. And I get it. They really can be, especially challenging. And Teresa, I really like also how you say, because of just kind of like the world we live in, right? It's not set up, for everyone, right? And I also loved it, that the high expectations, so when we were in the workforce, or you're at school, right? There are just these high expectations. There's people competing, and it gets really overwhelming. And it really can at times be very discouraging. But if you just breathe and take a step back, understand your boundaries,
Mhm.
um, you get a little more of that clearer understanding, to help you continue to move forward. And then again, it's still tough.
It is
Every
tough.
day is a challenge, right?
Well,
But yeah,
you mentioned practicing. You mentioned your boundaries, and then you mentioned practicing gratitude
yeah,
and doing something self-care for yourself, where practicing is going to help you, in knowing yourself as well. Practicing the things that you need to do to make yourself more comfortable. That needs practice too, because even once you know what's going on, every time's not going to be, what is it, a home run? you
right.
know so you're just like, I've got this big meeting coming up, or I get the situation's going to come up, and I'm a little anxious, and you plan for it, and your plan doesn't go according to plan. It happens. But keep practicing putting your boundaries in place,
Yes.
putting boundaries in place for different people.
Mhm.
You have to practice that. And I don't know that we ever get perfect at it throughout our life. As long as we have these different struggles, whatever it is that we struggle with individually, we're going to have to continue to put those boundaries in place, put the safety nets in place for us to be able to function in the world. We don't want to wait for somebody else to accommodate us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Most of the time they're not thinking about us.
Right.
They're not struggling with it, so they're not thinking about it. So
Right.
they're not going to accommodate us. So we have to put the accommodation there for ourselves.
Yep.
Protect ourselves.
Mhm. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Just thank you so much.
I only have a comment, Alejandro.
Yes, sir.
It's a great conversation. I know it doesn't matter whether you're suffering with narcolepsy, IH, or any of those things. This advice is good for anybody. Right? They're all have the courage and do what you need to do. And I love your T-shirt which said "Job is not loyal" or something. That
Oh yeah, these jobs aren't loyal.
these jobs are in law.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That
There
t-shirt's
you go.
available on Amazon.
I love a couple of your shirts and the sabbatical you took. Sometimes it doesn't matter whether you're given a name to whatever you are, but at the end of the day, I think everybody in any workforce goes through that same cycle, in my opinion. If we don't recognize it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Great
have a
advice.
question, if I can ask a quick question. Teresa,
Absolutely.
you mentioned masking, and I learned about masking, I don't know, a year or two ago. And like I feel like I did it, but I mean, it bothers me, that word, because it makes it sound, to me at least, that like you're faking something. You're trying to be like phony about something. And I told people since I was a kid, like I'm exhausted, this, that. I mean, my doctors, my family, like everybody. So I was honest about everything from, from the second I had symptoms. So, like, I don't know, that term just bothers me a little bit. Like I said, because I'm so honest, I'm like overly honest. It gets me in trouble a lot. But that word, it's like if I had known, and I mean, I got the diagnosis of IH at 25, and still, like, not much was known. So it's like no one gave me like tips, hints. I mean, I knew nobody that had that struggle of fatigue, extreme fatigue, which like in 2017 turned into like a level of exhaustion that I had never experienced. But it's like I told everybody. So like masking, I don't, it just bothers me because it makes it sound like I was trying to hide something, and I wasn't. Like I said, I've always been too honest. I've been accused of being too honest. So like I said, there's just something about that term, but like I was just trying to fight through it and to survive. Like that's how I would define it. It's just survival. I wasn't trying to like hide anything or fake anything. My bosses knew, but like it's just something when they can't relate, because not even people in my own family have the diagnoses that I have. So it's like they don't even get it. I have to say, like one day of my life is like, imagine not having like 72 hours of sleep, how you'd feel. It's like they just can't grasp it. And over the years, I know they've been like, in so many words, you sure you're like not a hypochondriac? It's like they've literally witnessed it since I was a child. It's like they still can't grasp it because they don't suffer the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. A couple of things. Uh, I think it's fair and it's okay if you don't want to call it masking. You can call it whatever you want. It may have a bad connotation for you. There's also the case where you might not be masking. We could be doing it and not realizing it. Like I think about some people are people. I'll not say some people, me. I'm a people pleaser. And I would do things without even thinking about it. So I didn't have an intent to do these things, but I just had this inherent need to please and make somebody happy, say yes. Um, you know, uh, that could be called masking,
Mm-hmm.
but my intent wasn't to deceive, you know. But what I was doing was representing myself as something other than how I truly felt and who I truly was in order to make someone else happy or make someone else to fit in, or so no one would question, what was going on with me. That can happen without malintent. Um, Now you're saying you were honest about it. So you may not have been masking at all. You were telling people how you were feeling. You were always being genuine about this is what I'm going through. This is what I need. Um, this isn't working for me. I'm unhappy. I need help, whatever. That's not masking.
Like an
You're telling
example
your
would
truth.
be like in discussions with my providers that I might be autistic, and I could have been like all these years. So I'm like, how would I know? How would I know I'm masking if I don't even know I'm autistic? So
one thing I would say, um, don't get caught up on the labels. It's one thing to say, "Oh, I'm neurodivergent." Why can't I say this word tonight? I'm neurodivergent. Yeah. I ADHD. I have these tendencies that just kind of lets you say, "Oh, I recognize some things, some behaviors, or some things that I struggle with, or how my brain works differently, or how I think differently than maybe the majority of people do." But don't wear it like a badge. You know what I mean? Don't let it make you feel like don't let it make you feel bad. Like if you don't like masking, it doesn't matter. Just throw it out. You know, oh, I'm losing my train of thought here, but I'm
I
hoping that makes
appreciate
sense.
that. No, you're right. I just know, like, I never has had anyone for years ever suggested autism. But like I've just known since the age of 5 that I was different. Somehow I just felt like I shouldn't be here. Like this world wasn't, I just wasn't meant to be here. So like, when the autism subject came up, I don't need, for me, that label would be huge. Of all the diagnoses I have, that would be huge. That would explain my struggles since the age of 5. So I'm not, like, for me, it would just be like, now I get it. Now I understand. So it's just like, how could it have been missed all these years? But I get it. Like,
There's
a lot of people
still
are
a lot that you're learning, that the professionals, the people that are supposed, like, this is different, but everybody's talking about menopause now.
Yeah.
Women have been around for years. They've been struggling with this for years.
Exactly.
It's not new, but they're just learning. Science is catching up. They're just now putting focus on these different things.
Right.
So that's why, unfortunately, some of us, we had to find out
we
as
had
we're
to kind of
older.
push through it ourselves for many years, because I struggle with just verbalizing what I struggle with, because my vocabulary stinks. I've never done well in school, but it's like I can picture it up here, but I can't put it into words. So that's really difficult when you're on professionals and very smart, MDs, because they're like, well, describe it to me. I'm like, well, I'm trying, like, but I try, but I can't. It's like, because sometimes I feel like there aren't words to describe it,
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, no problem.
Right. Yes, and thank you, Kathy. No, I totally feel you on that, Kathy. And so again, yeah, everyone, thank you so much for attending this evening. It was great, great presentation. Teresa. And one thing I did want to I'm going to share with all y'all real quick. Y'all can see my screen, this NapChat Community Connections. This is our digital community. Think of something as a private platform like Facebook, but better, where it's private. There's no ads or anything. It is free for you to join. So I'm just kind of leaving up here if you want to take a little quick picture of the QR code, you're more than welcome to. But again, I will be replaying this video on our Circle community. That is the Community Connections, the digital NapChat that you're seeing right here. So we replay these. We have a lot of programs available for everyone, just like NapChat. We also have the Jobs Project. And currently we have participants on our Health and Wellness 360 program, which is amazing. It's a lot of fun. It's the first 12-week program. We'll be having another one. But again, just encourage everyone to go to our website also, www.pwn4pwn.org. You can check out our programs there. You can sign up for the community through there as well. We'd love to have you, and we'd also love your feedback. I mean, this community is for you, so we want to build it around all of you, and we want your feedback to help build this digital community. And so your participation is vital for this. And if you have any questions, just reach out to programs@pwn4pwn.org. And with
Alejandro,
yeah.
is the NapChat like, is it consistent? Like, because this is my first time, so is it like
Kathy, yes,
once a month or?
It is. It's always the first Monday of the month. Okay. 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, or of course, if you're Eastern Time, that is 8:30. Then we also have, because Sam's here, our host of the AI workshop, for all of you that, again, in a career, looking to change, or just getting some ideas on business, or you just want to step up your game at work, right? With utilizing AI. Sam's workshop, I'm serious. It's choice. It's choice. I love it. And I love being a co-host with him on it as well. And that is every third Monday of the month at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, or 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So I highly encourage y'all to join that one as well. A lot of helpful information there. I mean, really, I'm just learning about AI stuff, and I wish I would have had that a few years ago, because that really would have helped, bridge some gaps, especially as I was getting more sleep deprived, and kind of like what you were saying, Teresa, at the end, I just didn't care anymore. I mean, I did not care anymore, but the AI at least would have helped kind of get my game stepped up a little more. But anyways, with that said, everyone, this was a great call. Thanks again, Teresa. Loved it so much. And yeah. All right, everyone. It was a great night.
Have a good night. Thanks, Alejandro. Good night.
Teresa.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.